Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, it is with great pleasure that I'm addressing you today at the annual conference of the Estonian Employers' Confederation. Unfortunately, I could not be with you in person, but I still wanted to be part of this important event through this message. For me as president of Business Europe, it is important to be close to the companies and hear their concerns in these difficult times when we're confronted with so many challenges. I think we all agree the last 3 years have been far from an easy ride. Governments and companies have had to adjust to disruptive changes with far-reaching political and economic implications. Solutions had to be found fast with little time to assess all possible implications. Before giving my views on the current state of European competitiveness and how to improve it, a word about the Ukrainian war. We would never imagine that war would come back to our continent, and even less that a tragedy of this magnitude with far-reaching human and economic consequences could happen in our days. Estonia is being impacted strongly and knows well how much this war is disrupting the lives of citizens and companies. I want to reiterate that European business is fully standing behind the sanctions, even if they have a strong impact on our economy. Now about the current challenges for the competitiveness of European industry. There are two challenges that are currently jeopardizing European competitiveness. The push and pull factors that put European companies at a disadvantage compared to American and Asian competitors. First, the push factors. Europe is in a tricky situation. European companies were hit in 2020 by the pandemic, a symmetric crisis that hurt all economies in the world. While still recovering from this crisis, the Ukrainian war started. The EU is now experiencing asymmetric shock that hits European companies much harder than our American and Asian competitors, with most notably the energy crisis. Energy costs still remain an ongoing concern in Europe, as current prices for industrial consumers are still several multitudes higher than in the US and in Asia. These high energy bills clearly pose the risk of Europe deindustrialization, especially in the energy-intensive industries. High energy bills are one of the several push factors that are currently driving investments away from Europe. The other two that I will mention here are high regulatory costs and lengthy permitting procedures. Second, on top of these push factors, there is now the pull factor represented by the US Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA. Its $369 billion budget and similar subsidy schemes adopted in China, Japan and India risk diverting investments away from Europe. We have all read the news about big companies taking the decision to relocate part of their production from Europe to the US or China. The combination of these push factors and the pull of the IRA makes the situation for European businesses challenging. Nevertheless, the EU has in its hand the solution to ensure that our continent remains competitive and therefore prosperous. There is hope because Europe still has a lot of first-tier assets. Highly skilled workers, our single market, excellent network of services, and not the least, so many great entrepreneurs. There is hope because there is now public and widespread recognition of the dire situation we European business leaders are experiencing. President von der Leyen has acknowledged in her speech in Davos that there was an issue on European competitiveness and showed willingness to solve it. With her announced Green Deal industrial plan, the EU Commission President is showing leadership. However, words and good ideas must now be swiftly followed by concrete action. The EU response should truly take into account that the current economic hurdles in Europe are manifold. Financial support alone, even if the EU plan was to match the funding laid out by the IRA, would not be enough. From the perspective of the European business community, an effective response to the US IRA needs therefore to be comprehensive. Both the push factors resulting from higher energy and regulatory cost, as well as lengthy permitting procedures, as well as the financial pull factor. The priority for the EU should be to do everything in its power to improve investment conditions in Europe and the competitiveness of European business. Why? Because a strong Europe starts with a strong and competitive business. Thank you for listening.